Good evening, I'm Megan Mongello.
And I'm Adam Clemens. Thanks for joining us here for our special coverage of Election Night 2024 on our digital platforms. Today we will choose a new president, a senator, and representatives for Ohio in Congress, and decide on many local races and levies. Now, polls opened at 6:30 in Ohio. They will stay open until 7:30, so about 28 minutes from now. If you haven't yet cast your ballot, there is still time. We want to show you the voter turnout numbers. This is for everything: absentee, early vote, and election day. As of 6:30 p.m. in Hamilton County, we're at 66%. Butler County is 71%. And Warren County is 78%.
Voter turnout in Kentucky is expected to be at least 71% statewide. There were lines at polling places across the state this morning, no issues locally, and we are told the lines moved fairly quickly. The polls closed an hour ago at 6 o'clock. If anyone was still in line, they were allowed to vote.
In Indiana, the polls also closed at 6. Voters there will choose a new governor. Mike Braun is the Republican who's running to succeed Eric Holcomb. Jennifer McCormick is the Democratic challenger. Donald Rainwater is running as a Libertarian. Republican Erin Houchin is seeking a second term in Congress. She's facing challenges from Democrat Tim Peck and Libertarian Russell Brooksbank.
Well, the most expensive race in Ohio history involves Senator Sherrod Brown and challenger Bernie Moreno. Republicans are targeting Brown, who is the only Democrat holding statewide office in Ohio. Brown is running for his 4th term. He's been involved in politics for almost 50 years. Moreno is a Trump-backed Republican who won the nomination over more traditional conservatives. He has spent his professional life selling cars or owning dealerships. He has never held public office. We'll have team coverage from both sides coming up right here in just moments.
Meanwhile, Congressman Greg Landsman is running for his 2nd term. The former Cincinnati city councilman is being challenged by Orlando Sanza. He's an Army veteran, a former assistant prosecutor in Hamilton County, and current director of Hamilton County's Veterans Services Commission. The winner will represent Ohio's 1st district in Washington. That includes all of the city of Cincinnati, which leans Democratic, and all of Warren County, which is heavily Republican.
Congressman Warren Davidson is facing off against Vanessa Enoch for the 4th time. Davidson was elected in a special election in 2016 and has won 4 full terms since then. The winner will represent Ohio's 8th district.
In Ohio's 2nd district, the winner will replace Congressman Brad Wenstrup, who is retiring after this term. Businessman David Taylor is a former Clermont County assistant prosecutor. He's the Republican candidate. His opponent is Democrat Samantha Meadows. This is her 2nd bid for Congress. She's an EMT from Ross County. Well, now to a story Local 12 News was first to break first at 4 this afternoon. A suspicious package interrupted voting at a Hyde Park polling place.
Morella Porter joins us live. And Morella, it sounds like this was kind of a matter of confusion. What is the situation out there right now?
Hey, Adam, Megan, by this point, the scene is absolutely clear. This happened around 4 o'clock. The scene, I would say, was clear by 6 o'clock tonight. So it was a really large police presence along with Cincinnati Fire. A bomb squad had to come out here. There was a backpack that apparently had been left by a man that was waiting for the bus. A campaigner who had been here all afternoon says she noticed him. She turned back around. He was gone. The backpack was still there. So a bomb tech had to come in and search inside that backpack. Thankfully, there was no threat found inside. Take a listen to what she had to say about seeing that man at the bus stop.
Well, at this point, we don't know that any voters will have been delayed or, not having the opportunity to vote from this pause in voting. We had a plan in place. This is something we've practiced with our staff over the summer months in preparing that we may have to evacuate a polling place. So we're able to get this alternate site up and running pretty quickly.
So that was Hamilton County's director of the Board of Elections. She said that poll workers handled this very well. A poll worker had come outside and also noticed the backpack. That's when they decided to call the police just to play it safe. So the people who were assigned to vote here at the Church of the Redeemer on Erie Avenue have now been sent to Knox Presbyterian Church on Michigan. A couple of people had stopped by here after all of that commotion, thinking they could still vote here. Thankfully, not too many people people afterward have showed up, but there are poll workers here to redirect people for anyone who is getting out in these last few minutes to vote. For now, live in Hyde Park, Morella Porter, Local 12 News.
Morella, thank you. Yeah, the polls do close at 7:30. Well, the nation is watching a local race that could determine which party controls the Senate. The battle is tight between Sherrod Brown and Bernie Moreno. Brown's trying to stay in office for his fourth term. He's been involved in politics for more than 50 years as a state representative, a congressman, and as Ohio's Secretary of State. Our James Pilcher is in Columbus with the Brown campaign, who says that they are feeling pretty good at this hour. James?
Yeah, I'm here outside the Regency Ballroom here in downtown Columbus in the hotel, and they just finished up their staff meeting. They're going to open up the doors for all of the party goers and the people who are going to be watching the events live here. The Ohio Democratic Party is also coordinating its watch party with the Brown campaigns here at this site. Now, like you said, Brown is a veteran of Ohio politics for 50 years. He's held office from the state level all the way up to the Capitol. Now, he has been, like I said, a long-term fixture, even as Ohio has progressively turned more red or Republican. He, aside from a few Ohio Supreme Court justices, he's the only remaining Democrat to actually hold statewide office. And if he does win his fourth term, he would become the longest running sitting U.S. Senator in Ohio history. And speaking of history, this particular campaign between Brown and his challenger, Republican Bernie Moreno, is going to be on record as the most expensive statewide race in the history of Ohio. Right now, it's nearly at $470 million. That's nearly $500 million here in Ohio. Now, the two campaigns raised roughly about less than half of that. Now, most of that has come from outside political action committees, with most of that money actually targeting Brown with ads about his potential or his alleged stances on transgender issues and things like, and other social issues, and aligning those ads that a vote for Brown would be a vote against President Trump. As we know, Trump is the favorite in Ohio. But that being said, Brown has fought back and has set out several ads saying that those accusations of transgender issues are false. And he's hit Moreno hard on the abortion issue. Now, as we know, last year, Ohio voters agreed to enshrine abortion rights in the Ohio Constitution, and that's what he's campaigned on. Now, the doors open here at 7:30. We're going to be here all night covering the Brown campaign. Back to you guys.
James, thank you. And meanwhile, Local 12's Tyler Madden is with the Moreno campaign and gives us an update on the feeling there. Tyler, how's it going?
Hey, Adam, people are slowly starting to file into what they hope will be a celebration party for the political newcomer here in Ohio, Bernie Moreno. Now, we are in Westlake, which is on the west side of Cleveland, in this banquet hall. Again, folks that are slowly starting to make their way in here are hoping that this will be a celebration party for Moreno. Now, the polls, as we've seen throughout the summer, especially over the last few weeks, have tightened in this race. Sherrod Brown, been in politics for years in Ohio, and Moreno seeing if he can change the balance of power in the Senate. The Republicans only need to gain 2 seats in the United States Senate in order to get that majority heading into next year. And this could be one of those pivotal races. As you guys mentioned, all the eyes are on this race. Moreno briefly got into the Senate race in 2022, the one that J.D. Vance got the nomination, ended up winning. But in this one, he outlasted Frank LaRose and also Matt Dolan in that primary to get the nomination to take on Brown. Now, Moreno, a luxury car dealership owner in the Cleveland area. Again, that political newcomer spending a lot of money on this race. He was out in the area earlier today, and take a listen to what he said to folks outside of a polling place in Westlake this morning.
Most people in America, in Ohio, just want a better life. They want to be able to know that their kids and grandkids are going to get a better country than the one they got. And right now it doesn't look that way. We're $36 trillion in debt. We've got 12 million to 15 million people that have poured into this country illegally, which is totally crazy. By the way, to be clear, we're pro-immigration, not pro-invasion. They want to see peace and stability around the world.
So still crafting that final argument and making that pitch to voters in the last hours of the campaign as they're casting that ballot. President Trump expected to win Ohio by a decent margin. The big question will be, can that get Moreno over the edge and what we've seen in all the polling in a tight Senate race? Of course, polls close at 7:30. We'll keep you updated on those numbers as soon as we get them. We're live in Westlake. Tyler Madden, Local 12 News.
All right, Tyler, thank you for that update. And we want to take a closer look at that Senate race and break it down now.
We're going to be joined by Dr. Shauna Riley, a political science professor from NKU, to talk about the implications of not just that race, but some of the other big races here locally and across the country. Dr. Riley, thanks for joining us here on Local 12 and our digital platform.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, let's first talk about Sherrod Brown. Historically, in order for him to keep appearing as he has and keep winning re-election, he's benefited from the ticket splitters, which means some of the Republicans that have voted for him have voted in his favor. Is that going to happen tonight, and how do you see that race going?
You know, it's too hard to tell. The race is really tight. What we're seeing is a lot of voters that are making decisions at the last minute on the Senate race. We've seen a lot of money, as you talked about earlier, being poured into the state as a result. I think it's a really important race. It is not the only race that's going to decide the balance of the Senate, but I think when we think about the balance sort of nationally, about the focus on the Midwest and whether or not, you know, we can see a Democrat lose a seat and the Republicans gain, I think it sort of shows a lot about what we're going to see nationally tonight.
And obviously, Donald Trump is going to carry Ohio, or at least he's expected to carry Ohio. The Republicans are sort of hitching Bernie Moreno to that Trump wagon, if you will, dumping a lot of money in the state. How vulnerable do they see Sherrod Brown as an incumbent?
I think that when we look at Bernie Moreno, he has a lot of contrasts, right? He's significantly younger. He has a much different background than Brown. And so I think he was selected for a reason. And I think that reason is very apparent. We just saw a few moments of clips, and those clips just showed the difference between candidates, just appearance, likability, those types of things in terms of appealing to voters. And when we think about, longevity, how they're going to change the country, how they're going to change the state, I think the Republicans chose a candidate that makes them confident that they can get this seat from Brown. I think Brown's been a long time Ohio politician, that I think that's going to be a hard battle, but it seems to be one that is pretty close.
And Professor, let's talk about the young vote, especially in terms of the presidential election. I've read a lot this season about just the younger generation and how they could impact the outcome of the presidential election.
I think most voters, or most people, assumed young voters were going to stay home prior to the switch of candidates in August. And so I think the young voters have been more mobilized by the shift. I think a lot of young voters are mobilized on both sides. It's not necessarily for the Democrat or the Republican candidate. So we're seeing more folks interested in both the outcome and participating. The numbers that were shown earlier about turnout is fantastic. Those are really high considering where we've been for the last 20 years. So I was just thinking about sort of the passion that's come from this election. It's pretty exciting.
Dr. Shauna Riley from Northern Kentucky University, thanks so much for joining us. All right, and local voters lined up in record numbers to vote early this cycle, with experts also expecting a huge turnout today. Our
David Winter is helping us monitor how things are going right now at the Hamilton County Board of Elections. You're inside, David. What is the energy like and what's going on?
Well, things are starting to spark up around here. We got 14 more minutes of polls being opened in Ohio. That means you got 14 minutes to get to your closest precinct. Otherwise, you will have missed this election. This is where it's all going to happen in 14 minutes. They are going to start tabulating the votes after they enter them all into the computers. Nothing is done via internet. Everything needs to be, of course, very secure. So they bring in these votes by thumb drive. There are 500 or so precincts in Hamilton County, and so they need to put each one in individually into a computer, and that's how they start their tabulating. That, again, is going to start at about 7:30. Numbers will start coming out at about 7:45. Take a look at some video that we shot earlier today here at the Board of Elections. You could not vote here unless you had a change of address. You had to go to your precinct. We saw several people come in frantically and say, please just let me vote here, and they are not able to. So they are able to go to their precincts for another 13 minutes now and vote. And what we found was a lot of people who came here were very optimistic and just wanted everybody to get what they're hoping for out of this election.
But you know you're coming into a different day, different change, and you get to come and vote unified. You have those that are going for each other, those that are against each other, but regardless, we're all here for the same aspect. Just wanted something better for each other in the city.
Okay, we know that not everyone is going to be happy after this election. In fact, more likely than not, about half the people are going to be very upset and the other half are going to be very happy. Take a look how many people have voted so far in Hamilton County. You've got 604 eligible voters, 405,000 or 67% have already voted. That's 236,000 people have already voted here. These are record numbers. Now, whether those records are going to hold up as we get the day of voting, we will have to wait to see. Reporting live from the Board of Elections, David Winter, back to you in the studio.
David will be posted up there all night. David, thank you for that. We'll check back in. And several local school districts are asking voters to approve levies or bond issues.
Yeah, Local 12's Chelsea Sick is here in studio now. She's breaking down what that could mean for taxpayers. Chelsea?
Well, voters in the Mount Healthy School District are faced with an additional tax levy for operating expenses. This after the district was put in a state of fiscal emergency earlier this year. The $3 million levy would cost property owners of a $200,000 home about $210 a year. That money goes to things like teachers and staff salaries, classroom supplies, facility maintenance, and transportation. The Princeton schools are also on the ballot asking taxpayers for money to cover operating costs. Leaders there say funding from the 2019 levy lasted 2 years longer than expected. The new $5 million levy will cost the owner of a $200,000 home about $350 a year. Milford school leaders are also asking for more money for operating costs. They're not asking for a property tax increase, though. Instead, they're asking voters to approve a 1% earned income tax. The proposed tax would apply to people living in the Milford School District who receive a W-2 or a 1099. The Wyoming schools have a bond issue on the ballot. District leaders say if it's passed, it would raise $72.5 million for 3 new primary schools. The Monroe schools also have a bond issue on the ballot to build a new high school. Right now on local12.com, you can find a list of all of the local school levies and bond issues and what's at stake. Just click election under the news tab. Adam.
Chelsea, thank you. And Chelsea's going to be tracking those levies and bond issues all evening and have the latest results as they start to come in.
And tonight, use local12.com to track the votes. You can see votes from every state and how they're impacting the electoral count or the balance of power in the Senate or in the House. You'll find it in the election section. Local 12 has team coverage with 8 reporters targeting all of the key races. That's all the time right now.
Yeah, we will be back at the top of the hour with the very latest results.